Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Lori Williams. Today I'm going to be taking a little bit of a different approach with this video. So, for those of you that don't know, this is not part of my life that I typically broadcast because it's not just me. When it comes to my family, I'm pretty tight-lipped about them because obviously they're their own people. They didn't sign up for, a life on social media. So, with that being said, I do have my child's permission to discuss this because I feel like it needs to be said. I feel like it needs to be understood because, unfortunately, especially in today's time, hate is taking over. It needs to stop. What I'm talking about is the fact that I am the mother of a trans boy. Trans boy means that my oldest was born a girl, but from the age of about 12, 13, more predominantly at the age of about like 14, um, they realized that the sex that they were assigned at birth is not how they identify as. Now, as the mother of a trans child, I went through a lot of heaviness. I went through a lot of toxicity, and I'm grateful that I'm out of that place. And I'm not here to change your mind. And the last thing I want to do is judge you because I don't feel like adding hate to hate is the answer. So I'm going to share my experience from my perspective of being the mother of a trans child. I, when my oldest decided that they were not, they did not associate or they did not feel as though they were a girl. Um, he came to me and he said like, "Mom, I'm not a girl." I brushed it off as, "Oh, you're just a tomboy." I was a tomboy. My mom was a tomboy. It's not. This was nothing new. Being a tomboy, being a little bit more masculine was nothing new. And I brushed it off as that's all it was. I'm like, you're 12 years old. What the hell do you know? You're 13 years old. Like, you don't. You're just going through puberty. You're just, starting to get a body. How do you know if you fit into the body that you're in or not? Until my child was in grade 11, so they would have been about 17, 16, 17 at the time. And they decided to change their name. They decided to change their name to Cameron. I don't hate the name Cameron, but I did not like this name for my child. It does not fit still to this day, it does not fit my child. So at that point, because of my child's age, 16, 17 years old, I said, I'm going to continue to call you by your birth name, and I'm going to let you figure this out. I'm going to give you the space, give you the respect of figuring this out. Because the truth of it is, at this point, this child is almost an adult. And, they deserve to figure out who they are and how they fit into this world. So that's what I did. I said, let's give it a year. Because at that point, he wanted me to start calling him Cameron. And I was like, I can't do it. And the reason I couldn't do it is only partially of what I was telling him. I was telling him that he needs to figure it out, that I didn't want to go on this journey of like changing names and going back and forth. And that was only half true. The other half of it was I believed that if I held on to this child being my daughter, that eventually that he'd grow out of it. He would become an adult, he would mature, he would figure it all out and somehow be okay with being a girl. That never happened. So I had originally told him when he told me about the name change, I'm like, you call yourself whatever you want. At home, we'll still go by your birth name. And his question to me was, when are you going to start calling me by my chosen name? And I was like, let's give it a year. We'll revisit it. So May of last year, May of 2022, was the year anniversary of when he changed his name to Cameron. So we revisited it. We did exactly what we agreed to do a year prior, and we sat down and I was like, you know what? This is something that's obviously not going away, no matter how much I wished it away. Um, so let's look at it. Let's figure this out. And we sat down, we had a long talk about it, and he agreed that Cameron didn't really feel right to him. So we went through some time of him figuring out what it was that did fit well with him. Eventually, and I said to him, like, once you figure out what name sits well with you, I will call you that. Again, I agreed to that because I figured as he grows up, he's going to get over it. He's going to get through it. He's going to change. He's going to become the only daughter that I have. At birth I had one daughter, one son. Now I have two sons. Like, no, like absolutely not. Like, and I would get angry with him at times when he would say something about Kayla was his birth name, and he would call it his dead name, and I lost my shit. I lost it. I was like, Kayla is not dead. At the very least, Kayla has made you into who you are, but you still have to honor Kayla. Kayla is not dead. I even went as far as saying to him that for him to become who he wants to be, he has to kill my kid. I didn't say that out of hate. And I've had to sit with myself a lot for saying that because that's huge. And I know, and I've talked with my oldest. My oldest has decided on the name Dallas, so I can refer to him as Dallas at this point. Dallas and I have sat and had long conversations, extensive conversations about how much that hurt him that I said that. And obviously I've had to take responsibility for saying that. And I've explained to him where I was coming from, but it doesn't change the fact that it hurts. So, we've both have had to heal through that me saying the things, the hateful things that I said to him. But I know for a fact I did not say it from hate. I said those things from a place of fear. Because as Dallas was going through this transition, or beginning this transition, he's still going through it. As he was going through it, I was doing my own research and I was reading all the statistics of how many trans people get killed every single day because they're trans. I was reading how much trans people are beat up and attacked, whether it be online or in reality. And as a mom, to hear that your child could be one of those statistics was very hard for me. And so I started fighting Dallas on being Dallas out of fear that if you want to change your gender, you're going to die, or there's a higher chance that you're going to die. So I was parenting from this place of fear. And it wasn't until Dallas got involved with a center who deals strictly with the LGBTQ community. And they have been an absolute godsend for Dallas and for myself. We were also part of a pilot project where this center had teamed up with a local mental health association. And we had a therapist, a counselor, who was also in the LGBTQ community. And that was the saving grace for Dallas and I. That changed everything. It allowed me, through the counselor, allowed me to recognize, and this is something that the counselor had actually said, was what they said was that, yeah, Dallas is on their own journey. And, as far as being a trans male, but I'm on a journey of transition as well. So in that case, in that time, it's like it gave me permission to feel all the things that I was feeling and to learn to be able to process those things that I was feeling without judgment of myself or Dallas. So anyway, with all of that, it came an understanding This course was a 6-month course, or this pilot project, I should say. It was a 6-month pilot project, um, and it was the best thing for both of us. And then because I'm a spiritual person, I'm a spiritual teacher. I'm in a spiritual community. I do spiritual work. I have a hard time looking at things from the perspective of my humanness. The truth of it is as humans are flawed, and so I had to do a lot of soul searching and spiritual, looking at things from a spiritual perspective to try to make this make sense to me. And this took me on a journey of probably even more awakening journey than I had experienced up until this point. I had considered myself maybe not fully spiritually awakened, but predominantly spiritually awakened at this point. Looking back now, I honestly believe that this journey, my own journey of transition with Dallas, has helped me to really fully step into my spiritual awakening, and I'm going to explain how. So that's the backstory of how of what's causing, or what the reason behind this video is. My point of this video is, as the mother of a trans child, I see the hate on social media especially, and it breaks my heart. I see the judgments against trans people, of people trying to dishonor them, of people trying to say that it's wrong. There's male and female, and that's it. These people aren't even trying to understand. And I get it. I mean, in my world, I didn't know anybody that was trans until I started going through this. I had no clue. No, I didn't even know it was a thing. Um, I never knew anybody who, I knew like gays, lesbians, bisexual. I didn't know anybody that was a cross dresser, nothing like that. Like to me, that was more extreme. I'm a little country girl. Like I didn't even know any of this existed. So this was a lot for me to go through. This was a lot for me to try to wrap my head around. But it makes sense to me on the spiritual aspect of things. Because like I said, I struggle sometimes with making sense of things from the human perspective. The human perspective predominantly is ego. Let's face it, our ego for the most part is a complete jerk. It's judgmental, it's very low vibe, it's scared. It's literally, ego is fear, nothing but fear. And that's what for the most part makes up our human experience, is trying to decipher between humanness and higher self, or soul aspect, as I call it too. It wasn't until I looked at this perception of gender through the lens of spirituality that I could understand it better. And I want to share with you what I learned, or what I figured out. On a soul level, I don't have a sex. I don't have a gender. Neither do you. We have energies. We have masculine energy and we have feminine energy. That's it. There's no sex. There's no gender. There's an energy. Masculine energy does not equal male or man. Feminine energy does not equal female or woman. It doesn't. It's two very different things. So, how I look at Dallas is a very masculine energy. If you've ever met Dallas, you know Dallas is a masculine energy. I'm a masculine energy, but Dallas is way more masculine than I am. I'm a masculine energy in a female body. I still, I'm fine with my female body though. I'm totally accepting of this is who I am. The thing with trans people that I've learned in my experience is that they're not comfortable not only in their physical body, they don't aspire to fit into society's idea of what their sex role should be. So, for example, our society is a very, very, very toxic masculine society. They don't want to aspire to that. The females, the people that are born into the sex of a female, don't want to be at the mercy of men. like our society has made us for centuries. The people that are born, the trans people that are born into male bodies, they don't want to aspire to that toxic masculinity. So they don't care and they refuse to show up in this toxic masculine society for how society expects them to show up. I applaud that. I am grateful for that. Somebody needed to do it. And if it's a trans community that's going to do that, amen. Hallelujah. Finally. From a spiritual perspective, we need this. But the other thing is from a spiritual perspective, how I look at it. Like I was saying before about the soul, we don't have a sex or a gender, we have an energy. And I also know that my generation was the last generation to come in to this world to heal our karma. The new generation, the most recent generations, I'm going to say probably like the last 2, maybe 3 generations, they're coming in without karma. They're coming in to change the world. What better way to change the world than to come in with no gender, with no sex? There's no man versus woman or woman versus man. There's equality. That's it. When I start looking at it from this perspective, I get it. I understand it. And I honestly feel like we need it. We need some place in our society where there's no division. Because even now, in our toxic masculine society, you see women stepping up and being like, oh, I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and I don't need no man, and all this kind of stuff. So essentially, what they're trying to do is exchange toxic masculinity for toxic femininity. Toxic is toxic. I don't care what the energy is behind it. Toxic is toxic. But then you have this other group of people coming in where they're like, you know what? I just want to show up as me. I don't give a shit what my physical body tells you I am. I don't care if you can look at me and tell me, well, tell if I'm a female or male or not. I'm going to show up as me. The truth of it is, and this is my question, is if other people can show up as themselves, how is it hurting you? And I want to go a little bit deeper into this. Am I for the school systems trying to like persuade kids to question their gender? Absolutely not. I think that is the highest form of modern child abuse ever. Let them figure it out. But the ones that are figuring it out, accept them. Let them be who they are. How I live my life has nothing to do with you. How you live your life has nothing to do with me. How I show up in the world, why does it affect your life? Now, I'm not going to say that I'm okay with things being changed. I will never, ever, ever call myself a cisgender person. I won't. I'm a woman. I'm allowed to call myself a woman. I'm allowed to say I identify as a woman, and you can call me a woman. If I have that right, why doesn't somebody else have that right? I will never call myself a birthing person. I'm a mother. I gave birth to my 2 children. I am a mother. So my thing is, and my stand on this is, if we can get rid of the toxicity and learn acceptance, if we can try to understand in areas of somebody's life that we maybe we don't, because the truth of it is every person's path that they sign on for before they come into physical form is their business. It's got nothing to do with you. Absolutely nothing to do with you. So in that perspective, why not learn? Why not educate yourself? Why not talk to them? Ask them what made you who you are? How old were you when you decided this? Sit down and actually have a conversation with them. Because one thing where I know I was very wrong is in saying that Kayla was killing Kayla in order to become Dallas. Because Kayla wanted to die every single day. And Dallas still does at times. But Dallas is 1,000 times more happy than Kayla ever was. Ever. Even a small child. Dallas is way happier than Kayla ever was. Dallas is going to be starting testosterone very soon. His transition is progressing. And I asked him if I could be there with him because this is part of my transition too. And I told him like being on his path and him allowing me to be on his path is part of mine. And if that's going to make him happy, I support it 110%. For those of you though that are haters of the trans community or of other things you just don't understand, could be black people hating black people, it could be black people hating white people. At what point does the hate stop? Because if you're hating on somebody else for not living up to your ideals or your standard of who you think they should be, you're part of the problem, not part of the solution. You can choose love. You can change your perspective on things. I'm not asking you to agree with it. I'm not even asking you to understand it. I'm asking you to let people show up as they are. And for you to show up as you are, with their judgment. And instead of judgment, showing somebody else love. The hate has to stop. The division has to stop. And it's going to be a conscious thing for every one of us to step out of fear and hate, because hate is a fear-based emotion. It's going to take every consciousness on every one of our parts to be able to step out of that hate and that fear and into love. Like I said, at the very least, just if you can recognize it doesn't matter, it really has no effect on you. Even with Dallas being my child, the truth of it is, whether or not Dallas chooses to show up as male or female, it's none of my business. It's my child. I don't own him. He's on his own journey. He has his own path. This is part of unconditional love. I fully accept him for who he is, 100%. And if you sit down and you talk with that kid, I call him a kid because, he's almost 19 now, but he's still a kid to me. He's still my kid. If you sit down and you talk with that kid, you'll realize he has a heart of gold. And he just wants to be loved and accepted. That's it. That's all we all want. At the core of everything, that's all we all want. So realistically, how are we any different from one another? The truth is we're not. We all want the same thing. We're not going to find it by throwing hate and fear out there, though. All that does is show your own insecurities and your own unhealed parts. That's all that does. So I ask you, and I'm not just talking about the trans community, I'm asking you in general. The next time you find yourself making a judgment on someone else or disagreeing with the way they live, first of all, ask yourself if you're perfect. Second of all, ask yourself if you're coming from a place of love. If you're sitting in judgment of somebody else, I bet you the answer to both of those questions will be no. And at that point, you have a choice on if you want to keep spewing hate or if you want to send the person love and let it go. Because at the end of the day, what they're doing and how they're living their life is none of your business. All right. I will be back to my regular kind of content. This is kind of sort of my regular content, just a little bit different. But I'll be back to my regular content next week. And I will see you then. Until then, take care. Bye for now.